Hey, it's Dr. Charles, aka CoachMD, checking in on my Facebook Live Monday, Magical Monday broadcast. And as most of you know, I do these mainly for myself to get my week off on the right foot and hopefully get your week off on the right foot also. But before you get started, let me know where you're from. Tell me where you're from. Make sure that you click those likes and those hearts as you watch, because that really does makes me feel better. Gets me understanding that maybe some people are actually caring and valuing about what I have to say. And we know that for those of you who have seen me before, know that I consider myself a true holistic doctor. And by holistic, does that mean that I'm into alternative medicine or integrative medicine? Yeah, I do that. I am interested in that. I like to myself look in that direction before I sometimes look in the conventional direction. But by holistic, what I mean is balancing mind, body, and spirit. And that's because in my career, in my professional and personal life, I've recognized that what gets people sick and what keeps us well, it's actually one and the same thing. It's our ability to balance all of that in a holistic sense. So I focus a lot on the mind and the spirit more than really the body. And it's because I don't, as a doctor, I have a secret to tell you. I don't like to take care of people. A lot of people say, oh, I'm a doctor, I like to take care of people. Well, guess what? I don't like to take care of people. What I like to do, what I like to help people do, is empower them, is give you the tools and the information so you can take care of yourself. I think that's a big distinction. And so as a holistic doctor, I like to focus on the mind and the spirit, because that influences us so much in our daily lives. And as we get the week started, I would like you, as I do for myself, is to focus in on how are those facets interacting together? Are they working well together? Is your body just in super tip-top shape and you're great and healthy, but your mind and spirit are kind of dwindling? Or is it the other way around? Is something lacking? And so what I'd like to talk to you today about is understanding and recognizing those aspects of our lives that we have control over and those that we don't. And so before I get started again, let me know where you're from. Click those likes or the hearts and tell me how long maybe you've been tuning in and listening to my broadcast or following my CoachMD page. Again, I like to do this for myself, actually, because I'm self-interested, not selfish, but self-interested. And that's how I would like to segue really into understanding those things that we have control over and those that we don't. And as we are, certainly, we don't, as the saying goes, no man is an island. Yeah, that's correct. No person is an island. We are amongst usually friends, family, a community, some larger, some smaller, but usually we are not alone. And it is important to take care of ourselves, but it's also understanding what those things we do have control over and those that we don't. So what are some of those things? Well, first thing that comes to mind is anything you hear in the news. Anything and everything you hear in the news, you have very little control over. Now let that sink in a little bit, because I know a lot of you out there are tuning in to the 24/7 news broadcast. You're listening to whatever news station is speaking to you and your beliefs and your opinions, and you are watching that station, and you're watching it over and over and over again. And I know a lot of you in the United States were watching, and maybe even abroad, were watching the shenanigans that were going on last week at the Supreme Court hearings. And a lot of you are getting emotional about it. A lot of you are getting not only emotional, but angry and enraged by it. What do you think that does to your body? What do you think that does to your immune system? What do you think that does to your brain and your heart? It can't be good for you, right? Well, I'm not telling you to put your head in the sand. I'm not telling you to, first of all, what I'm telling you is not, I mean, who am I, right? These are things that when I talk to people who come into my office, I always say, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm never going to tell you what to do. I'll give you information. I'll tell you what I've learned, and it's up to you. I can coach you and guide you, but ultimately it's your body, it's your life. You know it better than I can know. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. So what I'm saying is, so I'm never telling you what to do, but what I am telling you or helping you to try to understand, hopefully, is that it's not that you can't stick up for what you believe in, and it's not that you take a stand, but when you understand how much that controls your life and the things that you actually do have control over, like your own physical body, for the most part, your interactions with your family and friends and your local communities, those are things you have a lot of control over, much more so than what you watch in the news. Now, if everyone would just tend to themselves in a self-interested, not selfish way, and focus on keeping your own house in order, then everyone's house will be in order, and then kumbaya, we're living in peace and harmony, right? Well, unfortunately, just as we have our spiritual selves and our divine nature connected with, as I believe, some higher source power, I call God, you may call it something different, but that is so much greater than the material stuff that's going on. But guess what? When we get taken in by all the stuff that we don't have control over, it puts a hard block on our access to that divine nature. And that puts in a tizzy, like that word, a tizzy, that puts in a tizzy our ability to connect with that and that balance of mind, body, and spirit. So as you go forward this week, try to recognize those things that are emotionally affecting you. And which ones do you have control over? And can you do something to change that, to alter it somehow, so it creates more of a balance in your humanity, in your sensibilities? Because by balancing all of that, it'll send a ripple effect, not a negative ripple effect, but a positive ripple effect on your immune system, on your heart, your brain, the cells in your body. Because as we get into habits, guess what? Even our cells can get used to the environment that they're in. So if you're constantly drawn toward situations and circumstances or information that you have little control over, that becomes a habit. And that sets off here's another word, milieu, okay? Sets off another milieu or environment in our body that our cells are bathing in. And our cells, just like our brains, get into a comfort zone. And that comfort zone is a cellular form of safety. And as we get into these states of rage or anger or hostility, things about circumstances and situations of which we have little control, it sets off the same sense in our body, and our cells get locked in, and they get familiar to that sense of rage. And that causes inflammation, it causes tension, it causes immune dysfunction. And all of those things become habitual and can lead to chronic diseases. And that's theoretical. Okay, I'm throwing out that as a theory. It hasn't been proven. But in my professional life as a doctor, I've observed these things. So I've observed them to be true. Have I proven them? No. But I've observed them in many, many situations. So it's important as you go forward this week to slap in the face any of those things that you do not have control over. So what is it? Is it some some part of the company that you're involved in. Maybe you're at work and the company is going through changes. And you think of yourself as a small person on the totem pole. And you don't have any control over that. And it's true, you might. But guess what? What do you have control over? You have control over the team, your presence at that company. And often we try to be the best so we can make an impression and we can change all those things that we don't have control over because we feel if we're being the best, that'll just change everything. But guess what? It's very difficult, if almost impossible, to be the best most of the time. Yeah, that's great. That's a nice icing on the cake. But guess what the cake is? The cake is doing our best. Being the best is just an added on, a topping. Okay? Doing our best can lead to circumstances that are beneficial for us. And it's doing our best in situations where we do have an influence, where we do have control. So if you're on a team at work or whatever in your family, being the best, trying to be the best dad, trying to be the best brother, trying to be the best husband, or doing the best of that is what you should strive for, I think. Being the best, I always joke around because you see on Facebook all the time, thank you, or happy birthday to the best dad ever. Well, I take offense to that. I thought I was the best dad. But no, that's it. Trying to be the best is very difficult, if not impossible, but doing our best and really focusing on that in the circumstances and situations of which we have control. So what are some of the ways this week that you can do that? Well, you can, first of all, stop watching the news. I guarantee you'll get, if something's important, you'll hear about it. I promise you. You will hear about it. You don't have to watch the news 24/7 just in case you might miss a tidbit. You'll get it, right? Maybe download an app on your phone that just gives you headlines. But don't read the headlines of the things that you don't have control over. Now, it may sound very insensitive to me because we've heard of the hurricanes and the devastation that affected North Carolina and the Carolinas and the devastation in Indonesia with the earthquake and tsunami. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's heart-wrenching. But do you really need to watch the individual heartache of the individual people? I have faith in you as a human being, that you feel for those people without having to embed yourself in lives that you don't have control over. I know, I have faith that you can feel for those people without constantly watching their grief. And what can you do? Well, you can do whatever your heart feels is strong enough to get involved without watching the devastation day in and day out. Because that doesn't do anything. That actually puts more of a block on our ability to truly help those in need. When we feel that in order to satisfy our guilt is to watch and say, oh, I feel bad for them by watching the misery, that actually puts a hard block on our ability to really think and understand what can we do with what we have in our life, what do we have control over where we can actually help that person. Because you need to have both feet grounded need both feet firmly grounded before you can reach for the stars. And that also means before you can help somebody else, you have to make sure your own house is in order. There are so many people who look to save the world, but their own house is in shambles. There are many people you may see on the news, right? On the news, who are out there protesting because they really feel that this is their calling, their cause. They need to be out there. Well, a lot of those people's houses are not in order. And I'm not telling you, I'm not telling you what to do. Don't look to me to tell you what to do. But what I'm offering is look at your life first. Look at your own house. before you go out and protest, look at your own house. Is everything in order there? Are you being the best you can be there and in the people that you interact with? And again, I'm not recommending that you don't protest if that's what you deeply feel you need to do. But before you do that, I suggest taking a step back, looking at your life. Is your life the way it should be? Or are you just very angry about how your life is going and feel as though you need to strike out? Well, again, not recommending that you don't do it, but just recommending, in order to balance, as a holistic doctor, that's my function, to make sure that the mind, body, and spirit are working in conjunction, in balance. It's important to take a step back when you have anger or rage and say, is there anything I can do right here, right now, to make my circumstances better for myself, for my family, for my friends, for my block, my community? What can I do? So as you go forward this week, as I will do, I will look for those circumstances of which I have more control. Those circumstances that can really, on a small level, make a great impact. Because when we try to be the best we can in our own lives and make sure our own house is in order, then we actually have much better control over the uncontrollable. So I hope that you find some value in that. Again, let me know where you're from, how long you've been viewing. I'd love to hear from you. It really is. CoachMD has seen a drop in reach, as so many other outlets on Facebook have, but I'm still doing these broadcasts, and I'll continue to do them. I plan to reignite my email list a little bit, some my communication that way also. But again, I love to hear from you. I love communicating and reaching so many people. It really warms my heart to know that actually there are people out there who are caring, beautiful people, as I know there are. But it's great that the great thing about social media is that it makes our world a lot smaller. And by doing that, it can really help us to become better people, I feel. So thanks again for tuning in, and I'll talk with you next week. I'm Dr. Charles. Love you. God bless. Bye for now.